Hey everyone, guess who's back? It's Kamish back here with another LOC recap for you guys. And of course, we're going to start in Dynasty. Lots to go over. If you recall, there was also the poll questions on potential rule changes. So there's also going to be a couple poll questions coming up for Tier 2 and Tier 3, which I'll announce also. The poll question results will happen at the end in the Tier 1 recap. So we start with the LOC Dynasty here, folks. Two teams remain undefeated, no more in Golden Knights. This week should be interesting, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Few teams, well, not more than a few. Four teams at 3-1, three teams at 2-2. So obviously, 3-1 and 4-0 teams. That's six teams. So two out of the three that are 2-2, one team would be out of the playoffs. So that's interesting. We still have one winless team, and now what I would probably say, and of course the league's going to vote on this potential Hugh Jackson candidate with Ryan and Deuce Bombers, which is hard to believe because the guy's pretty much an original owner. But if you look at the points for 803.27, it's been dreadful. Even Forever Rebuild has 60 more points pretty much. Interesting to see the top scoring teams. The two top scoring teams in the league are 2-2. So that's kind of interesting to see. Remember, the top scoring team does win a prize. So obviously, that's why I have that statistic up there. And then division winners, you could see there on the bottom, Cowichan and Finito, no more in Golden Knights. There was definitely some good games this past week, and there's likely going to be a couple that will go to stat corrections, which could change things. Looking ahead at what potential game of the weeks could be, no more versus Golden Knights, folks. 4-0 versus 4-0. Who's going to remain undefeated? Obviously, that's a candidate. It's going to be a thriller. The bye week start week 5. So obviously that's going to affect a lot of teams not having the full lineup. And then the other game of the week candidate is going to be two teams that are doing extremely well, both in the 3-1 bracket. It's Orion and Couch and Chicken Turtles. He was considered a Hugh Jackson candidate at the beginning of the year. Can't say that now with his success in Dynasty. He'll be taking on Finito and Finn, who's also 3-1, and another team that's been quite well this year. Can't wait to see what happens there. All right, folks. So next we move to LOC Tier 3, and you can see the only undefeated team left is myself. It was quite a battle game of the week with Throwbacks and Kyle. Throwbacks and Kyle reminds me of a prior owner we used to have that was a bit of a problem owner, but Kyle's a cool guy. And Kyle is definitely going to be somebody I think to watch out for. And you can see he's second in top scoring right behind me. So really, I think it was a battle of the two best teams, to be honest. But it was quite interesting. Two teams of 3-1, both in the same division. Turncoats, Hot Chuba, Time Machine. You can see at 2-2. OK knows 90 ways to get kicked out. He's gone. We need a new owner, folks. I hope you're watching this video. Everybody's watching this video. We will need somebody to take over OK Knows 90. You can see he's 2-2. He's still very much in it. So whoever takes over this team could very well move up to Tier 2 with just some work, right? The only team at 0-4 is Cannonball 007, but you can see he's not one of the lowest scoring teams. So he's had some bad luck. It's Tier 3 veteran and Bree at Center Tiger 21, the lowest scoring team in the league. And this is why you're a Tier 3 veteran. You're going to have to find a way to figure it out. You can see the division winners there, family discounts, throwbacks, as well as New England Turncoats. The reason why Turncoats leads that division is just because he did beat Hot Chuba Time Machine earlier this year, which leads me to my game of the week candidates. Two really good games here for candidates. New England Turncoats versus Hot Chuba Time Machine. Does it get any better than that? The second meeting of the year. Hot Chuba needs to win this one to try to get back on the tie break, right? Remember, the tie break is win-loss first versus each other. Then it goes to points for. And then the other candidate, 2-2 teams here, Throwbacks and Black Dog, the international division. Very exciting. Four teams at 2-2. It's anybody's division right now, and that should be exciting to watch moving forward. All right, folks. So now we make it to Tier 2, and Tier 2's got still a few undefeated teams. We got Dirk and Memphis Mafia, Robert Scottish Highlanders, myself, Johnny Eight Balls. and some really good teams at 3-1. Okay, we got Jordan McLovin at Jonathan's found his groove this year, which is really good to see. He's been in tier two for a long time. Silver Bullets trying to do the hop, skip, jump from tier three. You like that? And next door neighbors with the late win on Say My Name. Again, that's another one that could go to stack corrections, but big win for Amber there and next door neighbors. Look at those 2-2 teams too. You got Purple Unis, who is the top scoring team in the league still sitting at 2-2. Tough loss this week as well. So Purple Unis is one of those teams that I definitely wouldn't want to play in the first round, right? And right now they would be the eighth seed. So whoever is the first seed in tier two, your reward would be Purple Unis. So that would be tough. Great teams like Sandusky Sandman and Say My Name at 1-3, and then there are some teams at 0-4. There's four teams at 0-4. Again, I said it last week. You do not want to be in this bracket. You could be falling down to tier three. Finishing off the top scoring teams, of course, myself second, Silver Bullets third. Lowest scoring team now is Biscuits and Gravy, but sits at 2-2, so might be able to survive tier two and all the injuries this year. Mr. Irrelevant, obviously in bad shape, sitting at 0-4. And then, of course, your division winners are Eight Balls, McLovin it, because he did beat Silver Bullets earlier this year, so he does get the tie break over Silver Bullets for that division. Scottish Highlanders as well as Memphis Mafia. Looking ahead, there's a lot of games. I'm going to list four games for game of the week. I got myself first McLovin it. I mean, 4-0 versus 3-1. Jonathan's had a great year. Would love to see how he does this week against me. You like that versus Unis. So you like that's 3-1. If you like that can beat Unis, that puts Unis in a very tough spot at 2-3, being one of the high scoring teams. And then I got two 0-4 matchups. Unbelievably, the four teams that are 0-4 are playing each other. And those are huge games because those are survival games. Now, it's Morning Chuba, sorry, taking on Mr. Irrelevant. And then we also have No Hawk Tua taking on Van Isle Echidnas. So those are going to be really good games to watch, good survival games, and really looking forward to that one. All right, folks. So we get to obviously the last tier, and that's tier one here, League of Champions. We're down to three teams that are 4-0. Finito, Sky Blue Army, who took the grace, so can't win any prize this year. Tough to look at, I'm sure, for Stuart. And then, of course, Brian and the 12th man, who looks like the clear-cut favorite to win it this year and is the top scoring team, putting up over 300 this week. Tough because obviously I played him. I put up 260, wasn't enough. And Brian definitely looks very strong this year. But there's also a few teams at 3-1. Subotica Spartans no more getting the win late on Mother Tucker to join the 3-1 field and give Mother Tucker his first loss. And then there's a bunch of teams at 2-2 that are obviously going to be fighting for playoff spots. And the only 0-4 team right now is Luke and Too Good for a Name. Not a good place to be, Luke. And Luke's had a tough schedule to start. I'll give him that. But definitely going to have to turn it around. If there's one team that I'm really starting to get worried about, it's Banjo Blitz. I mean, True North left this guy quite the shit pile of a team, and all it took was an injury or two, and now you're putting up 140. No quarterback. Kirk Cousins was your starter this week. You better hope he gets traded to Cincinnati. Otherwise, you're in serious trouble. You can see the age crew now is not the lowest scoring team and also got the victory on Clengy, which knocks Too Good for a Name into the precarious spot. But if Too Good for a Name can get the W somewhere, it's going to be hard for Banjo Blitz to get a W here. Jaden Daniels out, Malik Neighbors out for the year, CD's out. All those guys that True North had as keepers are done. And because he left a shit pile of picks, Banjo Blitz is in serious trouble. So that's what I would say. So, Shep, you got to get it figured out. You might have to trade to survive, but we'll see, right? Your best hope is Age Crew or BC Lions continue to lose, and you can find a way to get a W, and or maybe Too Good for a Name's that team that drops. But I think Luke definitely doesn't deserve to drop. He's been a pretty decent team. But again, also quarterback problems for Too Good for a Name has also been part of the issue. You can see the division winners are 12th Man, Finito, Sky Blue Army, Mother Tucker. Here's the thing that I will say about those divisions. Mother Tucker and Sky Blue Army are grace teams, so whoever finishes second in that division would win the division money prize. Just throwing that out there. Game of the week candidates. I got Klenji versus Sabatica. Obviously, Battle of the Brothers there, 2-2 versus 3-1. I think that's going to be a good rivalry. Billsy Bobs versus No More. Bobs, hopefully, I'm sure is hoping wins the game on stat corrections against the six. It was a very close game, less than a point. There's going to be three games that go to stat corrections, I feel, in Tier 1. Bob's is definitely one of them, but obviously that game with no more is going to be a dandy. And then I'm throwing this one out there. Too good for a name versus Fighting Geese. I think this is a winnable game for Luke potentially. Remember the bye week start this week, so we'll have to see if it is a winnable game. But I am going to throw that one out there as game of the week as well. All right, folks. So now we're going to get into the poll questions and potential rule changes that came about. Again, I'm going to do this every year to try to improve the league. Just going to throw out the votes now. So one of the vote questions was, should we increase the tight end limit? In tier three, three owners said yes, four said no. Tier two, three said yes, seven said no. Tier one said yes, 15 said no. So clearly, the tight end limit will not increase next year, as there was a much bigger number of no votes there. Next question was, should we eliminate team defense from the roster? In tier three, two said yes, five said no. Tier two, three said yes, seven said no. And tier one, two said yes, 14 said no. So team defense will remain on the rosters for next year. And then the last question was, should there be an IR spot? In tier three, seven said yes, zero said no. Tier two, nine said yes, one said no. And in tier one, nine said yes, seven said no. We will be having a new rule change next year. There will be an IR spot on the roster with a caveat. The team or the player has to be designated IR to be able to go on the IR spot. No out players, no suspended players, nothing like that. They have to be on IR to be on IR. So there will be an IR spot next year. Very important rule change. Also going to throw new poll questions up there. I hope you're watching tier two and tier three owners. Tier two, I am going to propose that we increase the buy-in next year from $20 to $30 Canadian. Tier one is $60 Canadian, so it would be half of that. And then tier three, here's the thing. I always said tier three would be free. I'm getting a lot of pushback that, hey, I'm putting a lot of time in here for tier three. Let's get some skin in the game. I am going to propose that tier three goes from free to $15 Canadian buy-in for the year, which would be half of what the proposed change to tier two would be, going up to 30. So look for those poll questions, tier two and tier three owners. We might have this be a money league across all tiers. Here's what I'm trying to achieve with this, folks. Some of our original owners in tier one, if they drop, like a guy like Luke, well, I think Luke, you started in tier two, but if you drop to tier two or one of our other original owners, you might want to continue to play when you know that tier two is for money. Okay, so I think that would be a big change. Same with our tier two owners falling to tier three. Still going to have skin in the game if there's a buy in there. Of course, your votes will decide whether or not those rule changes will go through. I will also reiterate that there will be a new rule change next year. The IR spot will be on the roster across all tiers. Anyways, folks, that is your recap for this week. It's always a pleasure being here and being your commish. I hope you guys have a fabulous week 5.